Today we're making a plant-based meatball, and it's very good, and we're going to use nuts for our meat because nuts have lots of fiber and they have lots of protein and they're very nutritious and filling. So we're going to start out with 3 cups of pecans, somewhere about 3 cups of pecans. And the first thing we're going to do is blend that up because we want it to be soft. So we're going to do all of our nuts this way. We're going to blend them up and to make them called like ground nuts. So the reason why I use a lot of different types of nuts is because it increases the flavor. So you've got the flavor of the walnut, the flavor of the pecan, and the flavor of the cashews. What's that? This is cashews. I'm trying to get these so they're not too crunchy. A little bit of crunch is okay, but I'm trying to get it so that they're ground all the way. So, and it's not much of that. The walnuts. We're going to add the walnuts. Yep, that's the 3 nuts. Third nut there. Okay, so here we have ground up pecans, walnuts, and the cashews. And again, that's our meat for our meatballs. Then we're going to add, this is olives. And these are natural olives where there's just the olives and the sea salt or salt. This is natural olive and it just has the olives and the salt. That's basically what it's for. We'll put those 2 in. It's 2 cans of olives because it gives a lot of, adds to the meatier flavor. I'm just blending the olives to mix them up a little bit, but I think they're fine. It's okay if there's a few of these because olives are already soft. My thing is I don't want it to be too crunchy there. Okay, these are the carrots. Some stuff out of there. All right, let's see. That looks pretty good. And let's put these last few in. Oops. There we go. Just going to let it keep going there. Okay, that's our carrots there. Ooh. Now we're going to do our onions and garlic. Okay, so then to that we're going to add the breadcrumbs. And again, I'm going to add it as I go through. Add some more. And these are natural breadcrumbs. All I did was just add a little water and oil and the flour. Baked it to make a bread, a flat bread, and then blend it for the crumbs. Okay, so now I'm going to mix all of these ingredients together. You'll actually see it pull apart instead of being so crumbly when it's the desired consistency that you want. Okay, and then you can add whatever seasonings you like as well. I would add a little bit, maybe like a teaspoon of basil and a teaspoon of oregano. And I'm going to add a little bit more breadcrumbs. It's not quite thick enough yet. So I just wanted to get an idea how much more I needed to add. All right. I made extra bread, so it's okay if I don't use all of that because I'm just trying to get it to a certain consistency. Might do it one more time just to make sure, and that'll be it. All right. I'm going to mix this in now. Basil and oregano. I'm going to add some salt to this mixture. I'm going to add a little salt, basil, and oregano, and that's it. There's really actually the liquid that's in it is from the it's from the nuts and the onions and carrots and the olives, but it doesn't have to have. There we go. And salt. I'm going to mix this together, and I'm probably going to have to get my hands in it and then put it into a ball. In fact, let me do that now. And I'm going to put a little olive oil in the pan. And I'm just going to smooth that around in there. And then I'm going to mix this all in. Normally, when you do meatballs, they have eggs in them to hold them together. But this meatball doesn't have any eggs, doesn't need any eggs to hold it together. But at the same time, we're not going to add any extra liquid to it because we want to make sure it stays together. Okay? And I want to show you something as this mixes here. I probably should wipe this off, huh? Okay. When it mixes really well and you know you have the consistency, it will kind of pull apart, kind of like it'll have a pull to it, as my daughter says. And I want to show you what that pull looks like. There we go. Now, making this into a ball shape. There we go. And do you see how it holds together? I'm not having to do anything to hold it. That's kind of like what you want, the consistency. And also, it kind of pulls a little bit. It's going to be kind of hard to probably grab that on camera, but it pulls apart, and it's not... Oh, let me try that again so you can actually see it. Or have a better chance of seeing it, I should say. Okay, so this is what the meatball is going to look like when we shape it into a ball, right? And you see, it holds its shape without me having to do anything. I can like drop it or whatever. That's the kind of consistency that you want. And it pulls it has enough where you can actually, kind of pull it apart without it falling apart. It has a kind of like a pull. That's the gluten that's in there from the breadcrumbs. That's why we added a lot of gluten, or that's why we added a lot of breadcrumbs. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just put these in the pan and then bake them. And while these are baking, Carlene's going to be demonstrating the sauce that's going to go on top. And what's that? You're going to bake it at 350 for about 20 minutes. It doesn't take that long because they're kind of small. And like the nuts are basically cooked and the breadcrumbs are cooked. So you're just pulling everything together. Okay? All right. I'm going to take this into another room while she does that.
All right. So now we're going to make some sauce to go on top of the meatball, and this is just a simple sauce. It's gonna the sauce is going to cook in the oven on top of the meatball, so I can just stir it up like this. So all you do is you use tomato puree, and this is tomato puree. It just has tomatoes in it, just plain old tomato puree, nothing fancy. That's what you want. And we're going to add lemon juice, freshly squeezed lemon juice. And this is about a half a cup. About 4 lemon squeeze, fresh squeezed lemons, about 4 of them. And 1 large can of tomato puree. And we're going to add garlic powder and paprika, about a teaspoon of each. A half a teaspoon to a teaspoon. I'm going to stir this up. And we'll add some sea salt to taste. And some honey. About a half a cup. Oil. Some olive oil or oil of your choice in there. And mix this up. To give it like a sauce. And if you want to, you can add molasses to this too. That's optional if you want to. And then we're just going to pour this on the top of the meatballs. Just kind of spoon it on the top. Oh, and a very important part. Don't put it in there before the meatball cooks, because your sauce is going to get like dried out and burnt or whatever. You want to put it in there after it cooks, and then you put your sauce on, but let it cook in there again for about 7 minutes just to get everything nice and settled. So you cook it in the meat on top of the meatball once the meatball's cooked for 7 minutes.
These are the meatballs that have cooked, and we're going to add some of the sauce that Carlene made to go on top. She added a little bit more honey and a little bit more salt to it, because it was to season a little bit more, just needed a little bit more. And now she's going to pour the sauce on top. Yeah, so it's honey to taste and salt to taste. So if you feel like it needs a little bit more, just add it. Okay? You want to go ahead and pour it on top? And then we'll stick it back in the oven. So we're going to put this back in the oven for about 5 more minutes, and we'll be ready to eat.
Today we're going to be making a stir fry. And as we see here, we have all these beautiful colors on here. We have our bell peppers with also carrots nicely chopped up. We have our red cabbage. We have our green cabbage. We have some onions here, and we have a little bit of water. But water should not be as essential if you wash it right away, because you should have some water from washing it already still in there. But this salad has been out for some time, so the water that was on it has probably dried off, at least much of it. So we'll add some water in. So to begin, we have this pot. We'll add our olive oil to the pot. And with that, I'll add our onions to this mixture. Stir that up. And our peppers. And now our salt. I'm going to add my cabbage. This is our green cabbage. We add that in with the mix. And get that in nicely. And now I'll add my red cabbage. Look at that. That's so nice. I'm going to add that in. And so now I have all these different colors all mixed in this nice stir fry. An all-in-one stir fry. We have onions, peppers, and red and green cabbage. And onions. So this is great. Alright, so now I'm going to mix this up. And so we're going to let this steam for some minutes, and it's going to go down and cook pretty well. And we'll be ready. Oh, yeah, thank you for reminding me. Because we don't want burnt greens out. So now I'll add some water to this. And I didn't measure, but we don't want much of water. This is probably about a half a cup, but I probably added about half of that. We're going to have this steaming for probably about 5 minutes.